Welcome to Zero Hit Points, everybody. It's October 9th. I'm Ryan Miller, and my man, he's Brillo, Campbell Soup kind of fellow. It's Matt Amberg. That was dumb.
It wasn't great, but it was relevant. We talked about soup before the cast started.
That intro is so good, so cool, that even like fake dumb versions of it are just truly dumb and not even like funny dumb.
It's true, and if you want to hear the good version, go check out Spawn on Me, because they've got Khalif knows how to introduce people.
Maybe that's the takeaway. Wait, what? Did you? Okay.
Huh?
Are we getting personal right now? Is that in compare? Like Khalif knows how to introduce a guy. Is that?
Oh, no. I mean, you guys are pretty equal, I think.
You're saying I'm bad at introducing people.
I would say those are your words, but...
Because let me tell you...
All right, tell me. Hit me.
I suck at it.
Don't say that. We're real appreciative of you around here. We like it. We like how you do it. You come in here and you say, hey, look at this. It's 0 hit points. My name's Ryan. This is my friend. Ha ha.
We have, oh, shoot. Literally, it's, 4 years next month?
God, that can't be right.
Okay,
if it is,
sure.
How depressing is that?
Literal years of me coming up with introductions for you.
I wonder if you've ever doubled up, like if you've ever done the same one without actually knowing it, like not on purpose.
So, I mean, back in the day, you remember the old 0 hit points?
I try not to.
We used to have like 4 running couch gags, I want to say. There was the intro, the original, which I didn't know, but I guess a ton of people do that. I swear, I think I've been listening to a little bit more of the Only Movie podcast guys. They've been doing the same thing for a bit. They probably didn't make it up. I didn't know this. Apparently, it's just natural. You start a podcast, you introduce people in weird ways. Oh. That was the original couch gag. Then we had like the list. I was using B words to describe the intro. That was one that changed every week. And then there was your nickname, right? Quote unquote, the whatever Amberg.
Yeah. Which
I've gotten away from all but the classic intro here now. But I did have a list at one point to make sure I wasn't doubling up on the others. On these intros, I'm not going to check.
No.
I feel like I've been careful enough.
We should get a hold of our archivist. I'm sure that we've got...
That's right.
We do have somebody working on all of this stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah, what is he... what's his phone number?
Yeah, well, let's just bleep this out real quick.
Okay.
425...
Wait,
I'm gonna
that's a real phone number.
Yeah, I was going to start my...
555.
I was going to do my phone number, but let's not...
Oh.
No, people will call me. They'll remove the beep and they'll be like, oh, we got your number. Because there won't be a beep. In fact, you'll just repeat it throughout the show randomly. You just like insert it. Like, what did you think about this phone number?
my favorite phone number gaff. We'll keep going. It's okay. We got time. You remember the Tom Green show? But back when, like original.
Yeah.
Like back when you were in high school and you watched it and you were like, this is the best.
It's the greatest thing that's ever happened. Yeah.
Yeah. You remember Glenn Humplick, I want to say was his. I don't know how I would forget that last name if that was it, or if I just made that up out of nowhere. That's pretty good.
I hope you made it up, but I think I know who. I remember Glenn.
Yeah, the guy it was just his friend, but he always have him on the show, and he would just basically just torture him.
Yeah.
And at one point, he had one. I want to say the MTV offices somewhere in New York where they had the studios were all like facing outwards, like they always had a glass wall they just looked down on. It wasn't Times Square; it was just New York somewhere.
Sure,
I don't know.
Sure.
But they had one of those, and at one point, the torture
de jour.
Do you remember this? Yeah. He put the phone number up, and he would do something, and then they would reveal one number. But what they didn't know was that to the camera, you never got the full phone number, but the rest of the numbers showed out the rear window. So people totally figured it out, and just he had to change his phone number.
Never change your phone number. Just accept it. That's my understanding of situations.
Yeah, you got popular. Oh no.
Yeah, now people want to be your friends. Jeez.
We would never change our phone numbers.
I've had the same number since I was like 16. Like I don't.
And it's available. It's on the internet. Just look it up.
Yeah, you could probably find it almost certainly. In fact, I could take a picture of my freaking business card right here, and you could have it.
Well, welcome to 0 Hit Points, everybody. We talk about video games almost exclusively. This week, it's going to be some we've played. You may have heard of them before. I'll get out in front of that. And some we haven't. You may have heard of them before.
I think that's a pretty good synopsis.
Hey, I do the ones on Tuesdays. You do the ones on Thursdays. It's It's an okay balance.
Yeah, it works out. I think yours are a little more concise than mine, and usually are probably make more sense.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we will.
Thursday,
book club for movies.
Why don't you start, my friend?
Why don't we start?
You've been playing games.
Sure. I did. We got our normal stream. Our stream kind of came back this week. We kind of have had a little bit of upsies and downsies, but we're back. We're feeling pretty good this week. This week as well is going to be a little funky because it is my anniversary. It's my anniversry tomorrow on the 10th. So
Doxed.
Yeah, now everybody knows.
I love dates. Yeah.
Oh no. So I did
You
spend
just have gifts coming to your house.
Just
I never should have. Wait.
Why? Okay, cool. These are nice fuzzy slippers. Neat. So I played a lot of Dead by Daylight with that, but I did play some more Spider-Man. I'm finally at the point where the Sinister Six has kind of come together.
Ooh.
Mysterio hasn't really shown up, so I'm guessing he's not actually in the game. But Doc Ock, who like, it's kind of fun. You're playing, as you play through the game, you actually are going to Octavius's office because you work for him. And so you kind of see him change from Dr. Otto Octavius to Doc Ock.
Oh.
And it's really cool. Like, you help him actually build the arms, the tentacles.
Huh.
So that's you get a fun little in on that. And then when you get to that point, you've also finally done your first real fight with Mr. Negative. It's you figure out, like, you're told almost right away who he is. It's like there's no surprise coming. You know who Mr. Negative is in terms of the story. But you got to the first fight with him, finished that out, then that leads you to the prison. There's a prison riot, and you're told that, oh, well, the prison's no big deal. You'll go fight the prison, but now the raft, which is where all the like supervillains are, that's being attacked, and everything is breaking there. So you go up there, and that's where Kingpin is, and like kind of the whole thing here has been, I got to catch Negative Man, and I got to keep Kingpin behind bars. And so you get to the raft, and that's when you start. You meet the Rhino, Vulture, Electro, and then Doc Ock shows up, and they keep talking in this like weird way about how he doesn't want him dead. We got to hide or do this and that, and you're assuming they're talking about Fisk. And then Ock shows up, and you're like, it finally happened. And you can see it. Like, before the turn happens, you totally know it's coming. I just wasn't expecting that to be the turn. So it's
That's
not
cool.
much of a spoiler, I don't think. It's just, it follows through with the game. Like, you're not...
Well, I mean, that's shades of Spider-Man 2 there, the movie, which I don't know. I always assumed that was...
They actually do. There is a total joke in there where you are on it's right after the Mr. Negative fight. You're on a subway train, and you totally, like, you have to press the buttons, and you go twip, 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 and then you're holding on to the train like you're trying to stop it, and then it breaks the things, and he goes, huh, that worked before.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then you do get out of it in a very different way, but it's so funny, that total reference right there.
That's cool. Yeah, I thought that storyline was kind of original to that movie. Is that something? I know Doc Ock figures into that. I mean, he's freaking, is it Spectacular? He's literally Spider-Man for a while.
In one of them, yeah.
Does one of these stories actually come from the Spider-Man comics or something?
I don't know. I honestly have been so far out of Spider-Man for so many years.
True.
I know that...
And it's been around for so many years that the answer is yes.
Yeah,
yes,
no, absolutely.
Yes, it's been
I
done.
know that at one point he was dating Aunt May, but I don't think he was ever Spider-Man himself.
I thought I defaulted to Peter there for a second. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, you didn't read...
At one point, Peter was dating Aunt May. Okay, well.
It was a weird Elseworld story that got very, very familial.
Oh, that's cool, though. Yeah, game sounds good.
It's really
Did you
good.
know?
I actually, just one of those fights, I had a really fun moment of... everything kind of clicked for me for a minute, and the fight was just perfect. Like, I was zipping around, turning people into, webbing them up, swinging them around, yanking guns out of people's hands, hitting somebody else with the gun. Somebody throws a grenade. I flip that back at them while dodging a rocket, then yanking the rocket out of their hand. It's just super fun.
That's cool.
It is super fun.
It's got the flow.
It does. And when you get that flow down, especially when you start using the gadgets, which I wasn't using before, and I've started using them a bit more now, that game gets it opens up in such crazy, weird ways, how you can fight people and what you can do. It's great.
How many run-ins have you had with Negative Man now? He's still like my main concern. Like, he doesn't seem like an interesting enemy to me, so I'm curious if they do kind of make him compelling.
So there is something compelling about him. He's not as compelling when he's Negative Man, but when you when the connection happens, it actually is a very interesting. To me, it's a very comic book, but it's a very interesting piece of. You get a little bit of weight with him. I mean, this comes down to can you feel the weight of characters that are comic book characters? Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, this is, every time you read Spider-Man, yes, Mary Jane's going to get in trouble. Aunt May's going to get in trouble. Miles Morales is somebody's going to get in trouble. Spider-Man's going to fix it, right? That's kind of how it goes. This is one of those cases where, at first anyways, the reasoning, like the plot, the join, or the push is, there is kind of a little bit of interesting, like it's kind of got that I'm a bad guy but I'm doing it for the right reasons thing.
Okay.
And then and then you started getting a little more balance, but that character is really great at the beginning, and then as the game has progressed, he's become a little less interesting in terms of he's just a villain now, but his motivations were still very interesting and where it goes from. So.
Okay. Well, that's normal too. I mean, that's typically what happens with villains. I want to say we had this mini discussion with Infinity War when we did that on the Thursday show. Book Club for Movies is the title I should use. But where the villain always has shades or depth at the beginning, and then as his plan falls apart, he falls apart, and he's usually just, shown as a racist or as somebody who just wants to see the whole world burn. As it were.
And in this case, like, it's a very it doesn't quite go that far, but Negative Man is also clearly not the one calling the shots. Like, you think he is at the beginning, but further on, he is definitely not. Or if he is, he's being used some way. And I'm guessing,
somebody conspicuously missing from the rogues gallery that might be the big bad that we're going to see in Spider-Man 2 or 3?
I just have to assume it's still Fisk. Fisk is the only one that makes sense to me, that it's Fisk doing this, but they are laying it on really hard that it is Fisk. So maybe it has been Doc Ock. Maybe, I mean, it's not going to be Mysterio. It's not going to be Kraven the Hunter. It's got to be somebody else. So it's either going to be Doc Ock or it's going to be Kingpin. I mean, I don't know. It's fun.
That would make sense. I mean, I could see a Mysterio kind of, but
not like this. Mysterio,
No?
in terms of the Sinister Six, has never been a leader. He has always very much been a useful tool, which, by the way, I think is super fascinating because that's who Jake Gyllenhaal is playing in the new Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the pictures I've seen, I'm getting a little pissed off. I'm not seeing a fishbowl.
Oh, they have pictures already?
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah, there have been pictures. There have been pictures.
I'm not expecting a fishbowl.
The fishbowl was a huge part of it, man. He could make things appear in there.
That was part of him fooling you. What's in the fishbowl?
Nothing.
Those aren't fish.
And come on, they did it in freaking Hellboy 2. All right, they gave the one character like all his little body and it was all smoke. Just do it.
Yes, you make incredibly good arguments, but I think for what Spider-Man, this is Thursday. This is Thursday stuff. Stay tuned. What that new franchise is, I don't see a fishbowl.
Hey, look, it's a special effect. That's what he does. Come on.
All right. There will be an homage for sure.
There will be
something,
and I'm willing to bet it's going to be some holographic fish in a fishbowl. He'll be like,
so you literally mean a fishbowl, don't you? You're not talking about how his helmet looks like a fishbowl in the comics.
Yeah, well, like I'm talking about the like you walk around in those platform shoes and you got a fish in there.
Sure, that's the bowl.
Football.
All right. Hey, Spider-Man.
So that's Spider-Man. I'm loving it. I am. I don't know how far I am in it. I know I'm like 60-something%, 70% now, but. And I've just been pretty much mainlining the story at this point. I did kind of do a couple side quests in there.
How dare you?
I know. I just like doing them. I like swinging around. Side quests are super fun. Speaking of side quests, how are you doing?
Oh, I know exactly how far I am in God of War. The game that I talk about every week now.
Did you finish it?
I finished it.
Hey! How many side quests do you have left to do?
I have 0. 100%. There are, I think, 2 or 3 instances where you don't even need to go 100% for the platinum, which I think this might be my first platinum.
Nice.
And I haven't even looked at the trophies. I had no idea what any of them were. And so it's okay to trace my history with this game a little bit. I'm going to do a big old retrospective here. We've talked about it kind of off and on in fits and spurts, depending on where I was, and you gave me some pointers, stuff like that. It's been helpful and instructive. I want to do a quick overview because I initially got this game because it was the big story game. It was the one that everybody was talking about, and here I am, the guy that's always like, that's my bread and butter, and I wasn't picking this up for no good reason. So basically I was like, I got it. I say this is who I am. This is what I do. I play God of War. I got it, but I was like, I've got so much stuff going on. Who knows how often I can play? I'll mainline the story. Who knows what I'll get into? You told me about the fire realm. That's kind of a horde thing. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll skip that altogether. That doesn't sound necessary. Mm-hmm. And I kind of fell off after a little bit just because of time. And then recently with all this other stuff coming out, I was like, in fact, with Spider-Man mostly, I was like, I got to finish this before I pick up Spider-Man. I got to do something.
You got to.
So I got back into it, and I got back into it bad. And in fact, this week I've been, actually maybe 2 weeks in a row now, I'm surprised I haven't got a phone call from some clients yet, but that's good. So it's all going to work out. So I got into it and I started doing some of the side stuff, like I said, I wouldn't. And then what I really got hooked on were the Valkyrie battles.
So much fun. They're frustrating as hell sometimes too.
They're so frustrating. They're freaking hard, man. And I'm glad that because some games you'll fail enough that it'll be like, you can change the difficulty in the settings,
Yeah,
I'm so glad that didn't pop up because I might have considered it.
This game actually says, you seems like you're having a hard time. Maybe turn the difficulty up. that's what it says. Like it's you do it harder so that when you come back to this, it's easier.
That would be good. Yeah, that would be fine. I'm just glad it didn't pop up and say you can turn it down because I might have been tempted. Because I was it this week? I don't remember this week or last week, but I stayed up till 4:30 a.m. just stuck in a loop trying to beat some stupid. It wasn't even the final Valkyrie.
Yep.
Just some stupid, because there's 8
of them, I think.
There's 8. They're not peons. They're not sub Valkyries because they're all hard, but they're not the okay.
They're
so
like
the Valkyrie storyline.
They're like mini bosses.
Yes, I guess. Still, I feel like that's sells some short given. And maybe I was slightly underleveled for this. I don't know. But the reason I'm doing them is because I want the Valkyrie gimmies. There's the loot drops because they're freaking amazing too. I don't know if it's the best armor in the game, but
I don't know.
I think it's pretty. It's got to be freaking close. So I get caught up on these things. The storyline is that the Valkyrie queen, and you think it's Odin's queen at some point, but you find out. And I don't want to spoil.
But the game's been out for a while. Spoil it. Nobody cares.
So, Freya comes into the story pretty early on. You don't know she's Freya. She's a witch for a while, and then you find out she's Freya. Then you find out she was married to Odin at one point, and then you find out that she was the queen of the Valkyries that the Valkyries are talking about. And they've all been imprisoned in physical form, so you're fighting them in physical form. There's lots of good excuses throughout the game for why violence is happening, because this game is very much head-on trying to address both the history of the game itself and the violent history of the game, and kind of put some meaning behind it too. So they do a little bit more work than just, the other God of War games, which I've never played, I felt like have always been like, yeah, check it out, like Frat War 2006 or whenever they came out. I don't know. This is not that. So the Queen of the Valkyries was supposedly imprisoning them in all these forms so they could not do their job of shepherding the dead to Valhalla. You can probably correct me on some of this.
No, I think you're right.
Okay. And that manifests in the game when you go down to Helheim, where you see all these wandering souls or an overload of souls being taken to Helheim instead of Valhalla, or there's a backup, or I don't know. It's bureaucracy, lots of red tape. So I'm fighting all these Valkyries, and I get 6, finally beat. And I'm missing 2, so I'm like, oh crap. And then there's some line about like, where would they be, boy? And he's like, other realms, and he's like, exactly. So I'm like, all right, yes, we're going to Fire Realm. So I go and check it out, and I get stuck there trying to do the whole thing. And when I say stuck, as I'm sure I will say numerous times throughout this, I mean just completely engrossed, right?
Yeah.
The same way I was stuck doing the side stuff, because the world is fantastic. It looks beautiful. The side missions, which I could go into but won't, are contextualized. They're pertinent. Like there's one, because it is a story. Oh man, and this balance is insane. It's a story about gods, right? There is a lot of that I imagine shows up in the other games where you are a god killing gods or fighting gods in a world about gods. This one, it's Norse mythology, so they don't ever sit down and explain how they all exist together, or when he made his trip to this land and this is where these gods live. They don't, thank goodness, don't go into all that detail, because that's the perfect amount of explain too much and it loses everything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that balance is perfect, but then also it's this family drama between God of War, Kratos, and his son Atreus, and then the big bad for this game, who is Baldur, and his mother, which, again, spoiler, ends up being Freya. So we knew he was Odin's son. We didn't know he was Freya and Odin's son.
Right.
And so there's that. And then you go on these side missions, and one of them's about, I want to say they're dwarves, or they're some sort of raiding party. But there's a father-son conflict in there, and one of them the son stabs his father in the back.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I remember this.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's all the lines within that quest. It's completely pertinent and contextualized within the main game, because it is a father, like Atreus and Kratos. It's a father and son story, and they're seeing this other story, and the lines that Atreus gives to his father as he's kind of ingesting this whole story as you're going through and doing this, finding stuff and is incredible. It lends so much texture to the main quest that it's there's no way I couldn't do them after that.
And it does a great job of fleshing those characters out in a way where you feel like Atreus and Kratos are both learning something. They're not just suddenly going from A to, I'm a god of war to, no, I'm the father of the year and god of war.
Father of war.
There is one bit in the game where I do feel like it's too fast, but overall, I think they really did balance things out. And that moment is really, it's that moment, those few moments where being a god goes straight to Atreus's head.
We'll get there too. I've got thoughts. Yeah.
And the problem I had with it was that not only did it go from 0 to 100, it goes from 100 to 0 when it comes back. And
that's my complaint actually, is when it comes back.
There's next to no moment where he's coming down. There's no gradual descent from that level of egotism,
Yeah, I didn't mind the ramp up. I thought that worked because throughout the game, Kratos has kept from his son that he is a god, both that Kratos is a god and that his son is part god, partly because he is coming to terms with his past, both in the story and, again, throughout the fabric of this game. And the reason is sound. It's well told. It's well done. Mm-hmm. It also manifests itself in a sickness. Atreus becomes sick because he doesn't know his true nature, and they explain this to him. So at some point, Kratos is coming to terms with the fact that he's going to have to tell his son everything.
Yeah.
And when he does, the son becomes a raging
jerk face.
I'm trying to think of a petulant child type thing.
Sure.
He gets a huge head because he finds out he's a god, and all of a sudden, I guess what I could take issue with was not so much the ramp up, which I could see how the kid would react that way pretty quickly, but it's the sophistication with which he does, because all of a sudden everybody else is a peon. Every other living organism is not a god and therefore small and unworthy. Well, the amount of sophistication that he has about his egotism is a little too quick, for sure. Yeah.
And that's what I'm referring to. I can get if you tell a kid you're a god that they're going to be like, I'm going to try and figure out what I can do. But to go from you're a god to everybody isn't deserves to be at my feet. He seriously goes from I'm a normal kid who's got some form of sickness to Joffrey from Game of Thrones. Off with their heads.
That's totally it. And especially since he spends the entire game being this sweet kind of, maybe naive, but they toe the line really well with him kind of not being ruined by experience like Kratos. Kratos has all this baggage. We adults have all this baggage and hang up, and kids don't, and we learn from them, etc. All that right. Old thing. So he spends most of the game like that, and then he's a. But I did have the greater issue with when it comes back down.
It is
literally there's a fight, and he screws up a bunch of stuff. There's a big event that affects a fight, and I think he kills one of you do have a boss fight with the two brothers that are Thor's sons.
They're Thor's
believe, right?
kids, yeah.
And he straight up cold blood stabs one of them in the face and pushes him off a cliff.
Yeah.
Sparta kicks him off a cliff while he's down.
Sparta kick.
I think that was one of the things. I don't know. Anyways, basically when he comes down, he gets a stern talking to from Kratos. And that's about it. Then he's fine after that.
And I feel like was it just that, or does he not get like? Isn't there a conversation he has with Freya where Freya kind of knocks sense? Maybe I'm just further. Maybe I'm thinking further along in the story where they have a reconciling.
See, at this point, I had done all of the side stuff, so I was pretty much mainlining the mission. So that might have been also why it was moving a little bit fast for me as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah, he's a jerk kid. There's a fight. Story happens. Kratos yells at him a bit, and then he's totally fine after that.
Right.
But yeah, and to go back what I was saying with the side missions, I also wanted to mention there was a side mission where they free a bunch of dragons, and it's a great opportunity for Kratos to kind of, like at the beginning, he's like, why do you want to free them? They're going to kill us. You know, Atreus is being very nice, and they're captured. We've got to free him. So you free him, and none of them ever fight you, although you do fight a dragon at one point. But throughout, there's 3 different dragons, and throughout freeing each different ones, Kratos then by the end is like, you really care about this, don't you? I can't remember what the exact line is, but it's something along those lines. He's gaining knowledge about the character of his son through this activity. So again, super well contextualized. These side missions are just huge strengths. So to go back, we're like 3 parentheticals now. This is all in the service of the Valkyries, right? That is really my main focus. It's really the thing I want, because I'm also aware of games, how they will often give you the best thing right at the end. So it does you 0 good, you know?
Sure.
And, you know, maybe my fault for doing all the side stuff in the middle of the game. Who knows? Who's to blame? But eventually I get to the point where I have to go to the different realms, and I'm like, okay, I'll go to the fire realm. And actually my first trip there, I went as far as I could, and I got it stuck on the kill 100 enemies. I wasn't quite powerful enough, and it was taking a long time, so I was getting a little annoyed. So I left the realm at that point. It is worth mentioning that there's 6 stages, and within each stage there's 6 levels, and within each level there's 2 stages, I think, 2 fights, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Maybe 3.
I honestly don't remember, because I think I don't know that I
Okay.
finished everything in that realm. I can't remember if I did it all.
Well, they're each different. There's no repeats. They're all interesting. Some of them are more annoying challenges than others. There is a do it perfect, like you can't get hit even once, but there's only 20 enemies that you have to kill.
That one took me a little bit of time.
Yeah, there is some annoying stuff in there, but I found it once I was able to quit after I failed one and go get stronger and come back. I sailed through the rest, and yeah, the last level is a Valkyrie. So that was cool.
Yeah, I never finished that.
Okay, yeah, Valkyrie. There's a Valkyrie at the top. Spoiler. There you go.
No, that's fine. I just never did it. I remember, I think I got to the last thing, like the second part of the last thing, and I kept getting stuck on it, and I was just like, I don't need this right now. I'll go. And then I finished the game, and I forgot about it. And
yeah. Well, so the other realm I knew 0 about, and I think maybe you mentioned it quickly in passing, but it was kind of more complicated to explain, so maybe we skipped over it. And I'm sure I kept yelling at you that I'll finish it someday and we'll talk about it. So here we go. Niflheim, did you ever end up in?
yeah.
Okay. So Niflheim is this, I love the way it's built out. It's, I want to say roguelike in nature, you know, in that it's kind of run based. You go into this realm of mists, and it's a maze that's procedurally generated. It's not, you know, it's not like a Dead Cells procedurally generated or anything like that. You know, it's not the entire game. It's just a simple maze. There's a left turn and a right turn at some points, and there are rules to it. So you can be like, okay, this generated in this way, and you'll kind of realize where you are. But basically, while you're there, your health is going down the whole time, or your poison level is going down the whole time. And if you reach 0 poison, then your health goes down the whole time. So you go in, you fight in an area, and when you win, you get loot, which is just 3 different types of things, but they're all basically mist echoes is what they're called. And with those mist echoes, you can use them to upgrade stuff or buy stuff. There's 3 missions within this realm. One of them is they're all kind of training, like get 500 to train yourself how to do this, but you have to go back to the beginning to keep those. So your health is still going down. So you got to go in, you got to fight, you got to keep your health up, it's basically about time too. If you go quickly, you're doing better, and get these mist echoes or resources that you can turn into mist echoes or use to upgrade stuff, and then run back to the beginning, or if you die, you lose it all.
Maybe I didn't do that. That doesn't sound like something I did. I don't remember
this. It can also be pretty frustrating, as you can imagine. Like there were numerous times where I had an incredible run, and sure, I probably could have been more careful and die. I died like inches from the end one time, and it was very upsetting. But it's super fun, like the way once you finally get into it. And I think I did leave there once. Yeah, I did also leave there once to go get more powerful and come back. So there are levels to this. And like I said, I've been doing all the side stuff. So I was pretty well leveled up. And still the fact that you can go in there and kind of have an arc where I need to go back and do something and then come back and I can do more stuff. There's also 3 more realm tears on once you get in through one of the main doors on the opposite side. And they're all top tier battles. But yeah, another super fun world, and also maybe one of the best experiences of the game because, and I want to say maybe I found this. Yes, this was the first one I found before the one in the Fire Realm. I go to this maze thing. I'm barely figuring it out and kind of, barely surviving from thing to thing. By this time, I have killed 6 of the Valkyries, so I have kind of my runes in place, my special attacks in place, and I have the blades at this point. So I know how to take a big chunk out of the beginning and then kind of memorize the attack patterns. And some of the attack patterns between Valkyries are the same. So I have some breadth of knowledge here that's helping me. But I get into the maze, and this is before I realized I was going to start finding Valkyries in this place. And I get to one of the generated things, and Mimir's like, a Valkyrie? And I'm like, oh my gosh, a Valkyrie. Like it's one of those moments you cannot explain. And I'm ruining something for you maybe. But
no.
I wasn't expecting to find a Valkyrie there. And those fights are so, like, I have to go in with a resurrection stone and with this preparation and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm thrown into this thing where my health is already going down because I'm in this poison land. And like, as you pop in, he's just like, it starts. Like there's no you walking up to it like in the other rooms and it goes. So I'm in it like immediately. I'm like, oh crap. And if I lose this, I lose everything. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the Valkyrie again, if that's procedurally generated. So man, it was such a great moment though, and I did get it in that fight, and I did get back and get to keep the stuff. So
nice.
Once you kill the Valkyrie, they give you more than enough to kind of refill your poison meter, so you're not going to die on the way back. So.
Sure.
But man, such a good moment. Such a good moment.
Those Valkyries, man, you have to go in with like kind of a game plan. I know that there was one of them that I spent way long time on, and I remember having to go in and depending on where she started, like where she would, depending on where I could move her to, depending on which moves I would do at the beginning, because like if she went to this back little corner, it was like, okay, I could use the whip thing so that when she resurrected people, I would swing it and they'd fall off the edge. And then I could also be hitting her at the same time.
Oh, nice. I don't think I found that one.
But if she went to the other direction, then I could do my whip thing really fast, but then I had to throw my axe so that it would launch into her and get stuck. And then when the other guys would spawn, I'd pull it out and hit all of them, flip back to my whips, and then flay them.
You still got into the combat way better than I did.
It was like, and it didn't help me because I think if anything, I hindered myself thinking too hard about some of those fights where I was like, I guess I should maybe I should just, I don't know, kite this guy for a little bit. But then you
can't.
And then I realized that a number of their moves can be interrupted. I didn't realize this until way further in. Like,
some can and some can't, though.
Yeah, no. But
at different points in the frame, like or whatever.
I don't know how many I found that did not get. I don't know that I found anybody that didn't immediately stop when I used the whip thing to them, that you could drag people back to you. It wouldn't move them, but it stopped them in dead air. And then the same thing with if they went up into the air and you hit them with the flying axe, stop them in air, and then they would drop down and wouldn't do.
Yeah, see, you're experimenting way more than I was. I like I said, I had my go-tos. I knew if once the thing started, I could do the axe one where it's like you're spraying a frozen laser beam at him.
Yeah.
And then that would kind of stagger him. And then I could do the one that was like a ground pound that sent like a wall of ice towards them. Mm-hmm. And then if I got lucky, I could start doing a chain animation that would also get them. And then I had a slow down thing. I had the talisman that would slow it all down. And then I could get the last special in there. And then it was all move memorization. Like they're complete battles of attrition because there are moves that can't be blocked. And if you're not far enough away, and some of the arenas there is no far enough away, you get hit by it. So your health is going down no matter what while you fight this thing because you just can't. I mean, I just couldn't. There were some attacks that I did memorize and I finally got into, and that's where I was saying I was kind of building a knowledge. But yeah, they're rough, man. And then you get to finish out the Valkyrie thing. When you get all 8 or whatever it is, then a realm tear opens up, and you put your fist in like you do for the normal realm tears, and usually enemies will come out and you'll fight them, and then you'll get whatever the loot is from that realm tear. You put your fist into this one, and immediately the queen flies out and smashes your face into the ground and just does that. Like, did you ever get hit by one of those attacks where she just drags your face across the ground?
Because I remember the first time it happened, it was like I was too low level, and I was right death went
devastates you. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
And there's another one where they go up into the air and then they come down immediately, and if they land on top of you, that takes down my health is all the way up. I got all the health upgrades, and that takes you down by half.
Yeah. I do remember those Valkyrie fights were instructive as hell for me in learning how to parry.
Yeah.
I got really good at parrying those Valkyries. I
want to say I only noticed you can tell if it's parryable because it's a yellow circle instead of a red circle, but I want to say they don't overuse that. Like there was, I can't even think, there was 2 attacks that you could parry that I remember. Between all of them, I might be forgetting one, but
I remember there were I just remember I got really good at parrying with them,
and that's good because you get some free time in there. So
yeah, well, and again, that goes back to that. I parry them, and then they'd be frozen so that I could So you were going the opposite direction. You went with the ice stuff. I went with all the fire stuff. Like I was constantly
using it all.
I was keeping
my
them.
specials. I kept going back and forth. Those I got. Those I was spamming.
So I was keeping everybody around me pretty much on fire, and then I was using I'd use the ground pound to like do some area of effect stuff to get moving people around to dump them. It's a lot, man. That game has something for everyone in terms of however you want to play it in terms of fight styles. Like you could do a lot there.
Yeah, and then I will say I got the armor. I got some of the armor along the way, and then you're getting more materials you can use to upgrade it. But I am completely decked out in the Valkyrie gear, talisman, handles, pommel, armor.
Nice.
And then I started going back to the story, and I am just melting through stuff. Like I'm up until the very final battle, which we'll get there. But I thought it's funny in the way this game also adjusts as you go. I finished the quest where you light all the torches finally, because I finally got the final tower to appear.
They're called braziers.
Oh, braziers. Thank you. And upon doing so, you get enchantments you attach to your different weapons, your armors. Each one can hold up to 3 depending on what you got. And the enchantment that I win from that side quest is a thing that I forget, it either weakens Valkyries or it increases damage against them, something like that. It's a Valkyrie enchantment. And Atreus is like, hey, this would have been handy for the battle with the queen, huh? Because I had already completed it.
And then Kratos just smacks him across the head with the back of his axe.
Yes, it would have. But yeah, I mean, I could literally go on forever. I need to mention what is essentially the final battle against Baldur.
Mm-hmm.
Fan-freaking-tastic. Again, one of the greatest moments I've just ever played.
It's a great fight, man. It was. I thought that fight was great because it never. None of those fights ever feel like they're too far out of reach. They feel like, okay, I can come back to this. I know I'm not at the right spot yet. Like I know I'm not at the right level. And when you get to, for me anyways, it never felt
for me at this point I was overpowered. Like I never died on the battle.
Right.
Which made it actually even better because I thought it flowed really cool. Like I would have sucked getting stuck somewhere in that battle, but I see what you're saying.
I don't think I died against Baldur either.
Okay.
I think I got through it, but I wasn't as powered as you were because I didn't finish the Valkyries. But I feel like even when you don't, like even where I was, nothing felt so far out of reach that I can't get it. And that final battle was a really, really good balance in storytelling, finishing out what you had going.
Man. Because Freya's there, Baldur's mom, and they hate each other because Freya gave him the power of invulnerability, essentially, but he can't feel anything, so he's been tortured his whole life. He holds a grudge, etc.
Yeah. So you get that final bit of story. You with that closes out the game, kind of, but it's just so well balanced out. And then the entire back and forth between Freya and Baldur, and then Kratos, just like unreal, so good,
man. Yeah. So good. And the fact that you're in the area, like at one point you go to Thamir's corpse, I think is what it's called. It was a giant that made it to Midgard and died. He was
yeah, I love that.
In fact, the fact that I remember some of the story speaks to the game also, but he was like, I forget if he got his power from Thor or Odin specifically, but he was a giant that was gifted in some sort of construction. I don't actually remember the story, so that there you go. But he ended up with a chisel in his head is what the problem was.
Is a problem.
So the entire level is you going through this corpse that has deformed the earth in a way with a chisel in his head, so you can get to the head and get a piece of the chisel. But this is where that final battle with Baldur takes place. It's number one, already the coolest point in the game, because you're going through the whole thing and it looks amazing and it's a corpse and it's a giant, so you're like, oh, this is rad. This is the best part in the game. This is where the final battle takes place. Freya reanimates the giant, so he's in there in the battle with you. You're fighting on top of him, through him, as you're trying to get Baldur. It's so freaking good.
It's fun. That's a big part of it, is just straight up fun.
It is.
It was fun to watch. It was fun to see. It was fun to play. So
everything. And I mentioned this real quickly before because I had heard it, but I need to ask again. Did you go do the little stinger at the end?
I don't know.
Okay, so you finally spread the ashes, which, again, all strength to the story. This thing, I was afraid because at the very beginning, your goal is to spread your wife's ashes. Mother, wife. Atreus' mother, your wife, yes.
Mother, I thought this got Arrested Development for us. For a minute.
Sorry. I'm not sorry, actually. If I can make anything Arrested Development, my job here is done. In fact, I think that's Mother Boy is what you're thinking.
That's what I was thinking of, Mother Boy, yeah.
But I was so scared that the story was going to digress too much, because games do that all the freaking time, and it's because of how they're designed more often than not, because there's a grand story, and the writers aren't necessarily given a whole lot of purview or control over the entirety of the game, nor should they be really. But what ends up happening is that they'll get an initial premise, and then they'll be like, well, it needs to be waylaid in some way. Like there needs to be a digression of some sorts, and that's kind of where the game happens, or where the level design happens. They're like, oh, well, I want a snow level. Be like, well, I didn't write anything in the story that has to do with that. Yeah. So I was worried that there was going to be too many digressions, and it wasn't going to be pertinent, and it wasn't going to matter, and then it was going to be like, we need to spread the ashes, but now we need to kill Odin or something like that. I'm like, I was so worried about that, and it never happened. It was always the digressions were so good and just so fun to look at and play anyways, that maybe story-wise, if you put it out on paper, it doesn't make a total sense or doesn't flow as well as I think it does in my head, but I couldn't tell you, so
I don't know.
That's not true.
You get enough callbacks to it and reminders throughout the game. Like
it's still the driving force.
It is 100%. Like it's never ever left. If it's not mentioned for a few minutes, it's almost always a follow up to like a cut scene or whatever, and it's Atreus saying, "Can I carry Mom?" No, you're not.
Yes,
you're not. Yeah. You're not ready. Little things like that where. And they go back to it too. Like it's the memories that they recall as they're going around. When Mimir says something, oh, I remember Mom telling me about this. Your mother knew this.
Again, so well contextualized, basically.
And then,
this is what I'm saying.
And I did love, one of the things I did really love was finding out, and you find out pretty early on that the axe that Kratos has was actually made for his mother or his wife, not for him. Yeah.
So that's the other reveal I thought was really cool, is that, super spoiler here, at the end, you finally get to Jotunheim, the land of giants, and you're because that was the digression, was that you got to the highest peak in Midgard, was it?
Right,
and then you found Mimir, and he was like, "That's not the highest peak in all the realms, though. That's in Jotunheim, and you can't get there because Odin has blocked it out. But there's a guy named Tyr who found a way, and that the whole way you go through and get Mimir's eye back, and then you find your way into Jotunheim. That's so cool. And anyways, so you get there and you get up to the peak, and you're going through Giant Land." And there's no giants, or they're all dead. They're all dead mountains. Is the landscape is all giants,
which was
so cool,
crazy background, man. You look, but I remember I took screenshots there because I was like, this is so messed up. Like it's such a great, awful thing, It's
so cool. And Atreus touches one of the walls, and the whole time there's a mystery going around about Atreus, who is a god but doesn't quite know what kind of god or what his powers are going to be. And Mimir kind of lends some credence to this too. He's like, I don't know, whatever. And he touches the wall, and the wall fades away, and it's the way you've been collecting lore markers that kind of tell, or they're not lore markers, they're called I don't know, they're you open them up and they're big storyboards, and you get some lore from them. And the walls turn into that, and they see Atreus' mom there with that axe.
That's what it is.
And then they're like, oh, she's a giant. And then he's like, oh, I'm half giant. And then it turns out that the wall is showing basically just what happened, because everything they just did, their battle with the giant and everything with Baldur, has been prophecy.
Yeah.
And the kid basically is the prophecy, and he reads a thing it says like Loki, and the guy's like, and Kratos is like, that's what your mom wanted to call you when you were born. So mom was keeping secrets. The kid is Loki. It's anyways, they spread the ashes, but I guess what I was actually getting to was then they're like, okay, we did it. Let's go home. And if you go home, which is maybe not what you've done yet.
Yeah, I did.
You get a little stinger wherein you see your pal.
Yeah.
So
I did go home.
You did get that? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. So yeah, that game is fantastic. I can't believe. I apologize to everyone and no one. We can move on.
Last thing I'll say about God of War is, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. Great game. Mimir is maybe the best part of that game, though.
You know, I was with you for the longest time, and he is one of the strongest parts. But now everything else is so strong. I wouldn't put him above anything else, but I don't know if I would put anything below him. A lot of other things below him, also. You know, like
no, and I'm not like, this is not reductive. I'm not taking anything away from the game.
No.
Mimir just as the character, like if I had to distill this game into one character, it's Mimir. You know.
True. Well, he adds levity. He adds, I mean, imagine the game without Mimir, basically.
No,
like,
it's
incredibly smart.
Way less talking.
Yeah.
Stop it, boy.
Yeah, those are all the other lines in the game, actually.
Haha, boy. Atreus, boy.
It ends. It's pretty cliffhangery. Of
Oh,
course,
it's not pretty cliffhangery. This game is built to have a sequel.
It's going.
Like, it's coming. You know it is. But I've got to wonder, can they do it again? Can they pull a Rockstar here and knock God of War 2 out of the park?
Oh, and me being me. I mean, okay, if they actually want a Rockstar, yeah, and you know, this God of War 2 isn't going to come out for years, yeah. Like, there's been enough time. Red Dead 2 is right on the horizon. There's been enough time between Red Dead 1 and Red Dead 2. I don't even care if I played Red Dead 1 before.
I cannot.
But if they're going to try and put out a sequel to this God of War like next year, I'm not going to.
No, and I don't think they're going to push that. Again, it comes down to Rockstar has consistently been able to do this, right?
Sure.
I don't know. Like, I cannot say that the first 3 God of War games really were like, they're not like this game. They're just not.
No.
And so can they make that transition? I hope so. I mean, you can do this one time. If Barlog is still running everything and he's the one writing it, I gotta think they can do it again. We'll see.
They can do, I'm sure they could do enough of it again, because so much of it was just world creation that. I mean, if I ever want that again, like, I feel like they could nail that again. I mean, and I'll want to know where the story goes, I guess. Yeah, you know what? Sure. I'm into it. I just hope I just hope it's not next year, I guess is all I'm saying.
No. I hope so too.
Time.
And I do think that if they do go forward with it, I'm willing to bet that you're going to get into a father-son fight. Kratos going to fight Loki. How do you...
Do they do that after this game? Because they had that moment in this game.
Yeah, except he wasn't full God mode yet.
True.
Atreus was not ready. He didn't know. Now he knows.
Yeah, you know what? And they could progress the story enough that well, actually no, because in the Stinger, if they're gonna, keep that canon or use that as a jumping off point, it's only years later.
Sure.
And Atreus is the same character basically. I was going to say, if they come back and he's a teenager now, that might be something different. It might be some different dynamics there where, yeah, maybe he really gets into that phase of, being
a pissed off teenager.
Yeah.
I'm an angry half god, half giant teenager. I'm going to stomp the ground. It's going to cause earthquakes. Meh.
It would make sense too. Like, a lot of the game deals with, in fact, there's a fantastic moment where Kratos steps between Baldur as he's going to kill Freya and kind of stops Baldur and is like, the road you're on will not solve anything. The road of vengeance, basically, because Kratos killed his dad, and that's one of the things he tried to keep from his son for the longest time. So it is a super theme, and that is a good moment in there. So yeah.
We'll see. Future is coming.
Let's see about some other things if we could.
Yeah, let's find out. Let's talk about something upbeat.
Well,
no.
okay, the gift that keeps on giving, maybe. I don't know. Is that upbeat enough for you? We've been talking about the Telltale layoffs for the longest time. By way of update, which we did last week, the rest of the staff has been laid off. And the 25 remaining, this is coming from Rachel Noel, was one of those 25, basically tweeted out, nope, we just got laid off too. No severance for them either. There's been some talk about whether about this maybe having something to do with the lawsuit, both in terms of resources and also in terms of, well, maybe if they lay off everybody, it counts as a studio closure, and then that law isn't pertinent. I don't know. So either way, they're not hiring anybody.
No, but the continuation of the Walking Dead game that they were doing will be picked up by Skybound Games. And It sounds like, I'm not sure that I don't think it's coming out in game form. It sounds like they're just coming out as comic books.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. I don't think so.
I don't think it's Skybound Games. I think it's just Skybound Inc.
Well, so it's Skybound Games.
Is it?
Which is, yes, part of Skybound Entertainment and has been a licensing property up till now. Like Skybound Games doesn't have a development arm.
Okay, yeah. So they're doing comics with this. This is not going to be a game. I don't think they're going to produce a game.
Well, so the statement here says, because it's so Skybound, and again, this is probably the best way they could have done it, because we talked about last week how if they're going to have somebody finish the game, they should have somebody finish paying the employees first, type thing.
Yeah.
Skybound is Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead. It's his company, or one of his companies. So it would make some sense that there's some additional investment there. Like he personally might want to see the story completed, or it's stuff like that. There's something different there. It's not just some other company that's like, hey, we sold it to these people and we made some money off it, and we're not going to give it to the employees. So there's a little sense to that. But it says Skybound Entertainment was started 8 years ago. Skybound Games is its video games development arm, created earlier this year. Okay, so they do have a development arm, but it was just created this year. But it does say that Skybound has never used in-house developers on the games it has co-created. So
yeah, and I don't. With the amount of time it would take to get people together, then to create or borrow or use or license the Telltale game style, it's not worth it in any way. It's gonna come. They're gonna be comic books. That's it.
Also, I guess you got to figure: is it worth? That would be the only. Obviously, they're not selling. That would be the only thing to be like.
Yeah, and this makes 1,000 times more sense to finish out comic books. And on top of that, because Kirkman loves doing garbage like this, there'll be super limited books, and they'll do something really ridiculous with the covers to make them like. So every book Kirkman does, he's got like 4 or 5 books that he does. They all come out in super limited covers, super limited variants.
Really?
And people go ape for them. Like, and even with new books, like, so Oblivion Song, it's like 10 issues in now. They're basically doing a single run of it. If you don't get into it, you're missing out on it. Huh. It's a terrible book. It's an awful book. Like, boring as all hell. But he does the same crap with Walking Dead. And I mean, all power to Kirkman. That guy is just, man, I don't like how he deals with his comics.
Well, he's not pretending to be anything else. I mean, he's the guy that's on record as saying, as long as one person is buying it, I will keep making it type thing.
Yeah, 100%. He is absolutely a money machine. That's all he wants. And that's cool. Like, that's good. He likes his characters and stuff. He is, again, he is a frustrating writer for me because of the choices he quote unquote makes. And then the other, like, he's also just a huge troll. He'll throw things into his letter hacks and stuff and tell people, oh yeah, we're going to do this. That's never going to happen. And he's also a writer that gets super attached to a character and will shoehorn them in because he just likes writing them. Negan is one of those characters. Negan, we've talked about this in the comics. There were spots where Negan was absolutely perfect. That introduction to him, all the things they did with him, like kind of during the All Out War stuff, was for the most part good. After that, they're hamstringing him into things, and it's just, I don't know. Huh. It's just me.
It sounds like second season syndrome. Like you had a good idea for the first season, but not much beyond that. So it's
and Kirkman has come out and said repeatedly, I just really like writing his character because he gets to come up with weird swear words and he gets to be super loose with Negan. Like that's his thing. Everybody else is kind of a stringent character that he kind of has to hold on to, whereas Negan doesn't have
sounds
to.
Unenjoyable for readers, actually.
And I don't know. It's just me, but that character gets worn really fast.
No, I
And-
mean, I only know what I've seen of him in the show, and that got thin. We talked about it on some show, I don't know, but
yeah.
did not enjoy the first half of that season, I don't think, or that character in the first half of that season.
Yeah, well, get ready for more. And now he's going to be different, but he's still going to have the lead.
This is a complete troll. He's like, we're going to finish the final season of The Walking Dead, and then he's going to, like, they're just not going to do it ever.
He's just going to sit there, and it's all going to end with a sunrise, and they're all going to be sitting there holding hands. And then, all the zombies are dead.
Ends on Lee, and he wakes up. And he's like, that was a weird dream.
Yeah, and then the camera pulls out, and it's in a snow globe, and
Yeah, the close up on the lips.
yeah,
Rose face. Okay, hey, what about big week for streaming, and this will wrap it all up, I promise.
all right.
Google announced what I believe was formerly Project Yeti or whatever it was, and now is Project Stream. So
They've really narrowed it down, like really
Yeah.
hit the nail on the head on this one.
I think they might have. And it's a game streaming service. You're playing a game through a stream. There's just no good way to explain this. But they've released it in beta form with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So you can get in on a beta test and play it in Chrome, in browser.
In browser.
And they have a video out there. It's 1080p 60. They say it's capped from, streaming the game to Chrome. And it looks fine. That you obviously can't get any sense of lag or controller or input lag from the video, but it looks good.
Sure.
I guess that's how we start this. The two main concerns about game streaming, because it's not a new concept, are both quality, fidelity, and input lag.
Yep.
And they are aware of this. And maybe we also get into the second announcement too. So
Let's because these go hand in hand. So
Okay.
let's.
Microsoft also announced their streaming service, which they hinted at E3, but it's called Project X Cloud. So names aren't getting any better from here on out, but it's not out. It will enter public beta in 2019. They say it's running. They have video of it in their trailer as well, but it's not accessible to a smaller public crowd like the Google one is, which I signed up for. We'll see if I get in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I meet all the criteria. I can tell you that much.
MEAT.
So this becomes interesting because this isn't a new idea, but I think it is an evolution, because we talk about, was it OnLive and whatever Sony ended up buying that has become there, which is now PlayStation Now. I forget what the Gaikai is what it was actually. And Sony has met mixed success, I would say. They've recently announced that you can download the games now, because that's what Game Pass was doing, and they were seeing greater success, you could probably say. So
I would say it.
It's had a tortured past, and me personally, I've said numerous times, especially having worked with video for so long, that I just never saw, for many games, AAA titles especially, I never saw how input lag wasn't going to be a thing. I wouldn't be into it because I'm a fidelity whore anyways. Like
That's
I
true.
like my
You are.
1080p
You're like,
stuff
give me
at
the
least.
caves, 4 of them at minimum.
All of them. So that was an issue, but I just never saw how they were going to get that quick enough. But the tech is progressing. I think also what's progressing are these companies' outlook. And I want to share 2 quotes. This one comes from Google, and it says, "The idea of streaming such graphically rich content that requires near instant interaction between the game controller and the graphics on the screen poses a number of challenges. When streaming TV or movies, consumers are comfortable with a few seconds of buffering at the start, but streaming high-quality games requires latency measured in milliseconds with no graphic degradation." So number one, they get it.
Yeah.
I'd say this is something we didn't even get with the earlier services, and maybe because it was kind of early on. They're not going to come out and talk about what the main problems are going to be right off the bat. They're going to let us find out.
Yeah, they don't want to scare people away.
Yeah, and we did.
We got freaked out.
So thing number one, they're coming at this with history, with understanding. And then the quote from Xbox, which comes in the video if you watch it, says, and this is Phil Spencer himself, he says, "We know not everybody on the planet's going to buy a gaming console." And this is preceded by a statement that console gaming is still going to be a flagship experience. The Xbox isn't going away, is what they said. But he follows up, he says, "It's actually about choice for some gamers." So there's also a measured understanding of who this is useful for.
Right.
You know, there's no, and I'm not even referring to the doomsdayers out there. You know, the people that were like, "This is the future of all gaming." You know, those people were never right.
I like that they're doomsayers though. That's good.
I don't know. It seems like every time there's a new thing, everybody's like, "This is like," or like when the Kinect came out and they're like, "This is the future of games. All games are going to be, you know, this is the controller now." I'm like, no, it's never going to happen. It's never going to be the thing. Streaming, that's never going to happen. That's never going to be the thing. I mean, it's Kinect is a bad example there because I suppose this could have greater success than the Kinect. I'll say.
Why do you think that?
But this is never going to be perfect for every game, and I think also that again, these companies are speaking with experience, with reality in mind this time around,
sure.
And it's they're making that statement. Xbox is making that statement. Choice is going to be the big decider here, and it makes sense. Like they're coming at it in a good way, I think.
And I am curious because Microsoft calls out that they are looking more into the streaming towards PCs and tablets and mobile phones.
Yes, very much focused on that.
Whereas Chrome is kind of what Google's focusing on. So I'm curious how those two are going to cross paths, you know, in terms of is Microsoft also going to be working in tandem to get like Edge working that way? But one of the things that's kind of interesting here is that the ground Microsoft is treading on kind of got started by Sony. You could take your PSP games and you could stream them. Like you could stream games from your PS4 to your PSP.
Well, Steam too. Is it the Steam Link? Is that what that's called?
Right. So you could stream them to different spots. Like, I mean, I think it was just PS to your PSP, but you could still totally stream games to your PSP. So Microsoft's kind of going the opposite direction. They're stream from your Xbox to your mobile phone. And
to be clear, it's not from your Xbox. You're still streaming from an Xbox.
Yes.
There's actually a cool part of the video where they
cloud-based.
Yes, they show them basically reducing an Xbox to a board that they put in a blade that exists on a server rack of a bunch of blades.
Right.
And that's what you're streaming from. Whereas the Steam Link also that differentiates from that too, because that you are streaming from your
right
thing.
and the same thing with the PSP. But it's same concept. I'm interested to see where it goes. This is never going to be something for me, like ever. I want disc-based tactile things that are downloaded onto my console, that are on my console, that are right there. I never want to base my gameplay enjoyment 100% on the internet, ever.
Yeah, it's true. Very, very true, actually. But one might argue we already do too much.
I mean, look, I live stream every friggin' week, right? I do it every day. If I don't have the internet for that, that's a problem. But I can still go pop on my PS4 or whatever, my Xbox, play Spider-Man. I don't need the internet for that.
Yeah.
So unless you are going to figure out a way to make the internet in our country, which has, I guess, universally known, we have terrible freaking infrastructure, and it's monopolized in such a way that we can't actually afford the best kind of quality we should be getting anyhow. If Microsoft and Google can figure out how to fix that conundrum, then I will talk to them about downloading and streaming games into my browser. But until they figure out how to get Comcast, Xfinity, all the 6 companies that own the internet to stop, this is never a go for me, ever.
And they don't want to play ball. Like this was the problem back when you remember when, this is a long time ago, but Xbox tried to make the Xbox the cable box.
Yeah.
But Comcast would not play ball.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't think it's gotten bad enough for them that they will, and because that's what needs to happen. Like Google Fiber's semi-dead in the water. You know that appeared to be making some headway, but they just don't have any motivation to not suck more.
Well, and a huge part of the Google Fiber thing too was that you start getting into local laws where politicians are specifically getting money from people like Comcast, people like Verizon, or whoever, CenturyLink.
There's freaking laws on the books that stifle on the law books that they've got passed that make it so other companies can't get a foothold above even anywhere near Comcast.
And I'm not even talking about companies. I'm talking about these Comcast, CenturyLink are actually fighting municipalities to say you can't build your own.
Right.
It's like
freaking
and it's that right there. Here's the thing. If Google and Microsoft came together and said, "All right, let's do this," they could do it. They could easily go, "You guys change things or you're gonna be effed." And the kicker to all of this, Neither Comcast, neither Century, like none of the ISPs actually own the backbone to the internet.
No.
The thing is,
nor
level three in Denver, Colorado owns the backbone to the internet, among other places. Level 3 could easily, like, when Comcast is saying we can throttle your stuff, they can. When level 3 says we can throttle your stuff, they can literally shut Comcast down.
Right. Yeah.
They can actually say, we're done giving you this pipe.
Which is why all the freaking data cap, like go read the reason. Sorry guys, we got to do this. We've already started.
Data caps are a junk.
Go read the reason why Comcast says they have to have data caps. It's complete. Like I'm surprised they haven't been taken to court for that thing alone already. It's complete
because you probably
garbage.
can't. You know, you probably. I mean,
you're right. They can't. That's why
the data cap thing does go back to it's the Ma Bell. It's long distance. It doesn't cost anything extra for them to make a long distance call. You are going from one space to the other. It costs nothing. They're just jacking up the price because you're taking up space on a line. When you're talking about data caps and how the internet works, man, it's not an issue. We are in no place. None of us are in a place where we are actually close to ruining or blocking things down or slowing stuff down for our neighbors and friends. The reason it stops and slows down is because Verizon allows it, and they're okay with it. Comcast, whatever.
Let's say everybody has freaking gigabit, because Comcast offers it in a lot of places. I just had it for a month to test it out. I don't have anything in my house. I have a lot of things in my house that can take advantage of gigabit Ethernet. My speed did not, and again, I'm going through a VPN, so whatever. My speed did not appreciably increase because you just can't load pages that fast. There's no reason. So yeah, let's say everybody had gigabit that they couldn't even fully use. Even then.
No, yeah, it's nonsense. It's
dumb.
Data caps, basically go out to your cable company and flip them a big middle finger and then burn something in front of their house.
We do not condone. We demand. Okay, sorry. Yeah. The only thing you need to download is 0 Hit Points anyways, and our book club for movies on Thursdays. The email here is podcast@0hitpoints.com. You can email us anything, literally.
Yeah, just tell us.
Facebook it. You can Twitter it.
Just say, hey, what's up?
What's up?
Yeah.
We'll say, what's up back. Maybe
yeah, don't forget.
On the air. I don't know. We don't have any rules.
Twitch TV/0 Hit Points. I'm there Tuesday through Saturday, 2:30 or 1:30 p.m. PST is when we start. Hey, this is exciting. Got an artist for your first emote. It's coming. Yeah. I've seen the emote. I know what it's going to look like. I'm very, very excited. It's getting finished up. Might even have it by the end of the week. Oh. And then sub badges should be coming shortly after that. So get on out there. Don't forget Amazon Prime subs are free. So hop on, log on, hit that sub button on our page. Let us know how much you love watching me play Dead by Daylight and dying all the freaking time. It's fun.
By Daylight.
I love it.
So thank you for hanging out. We spent enough time. It's good. Go play games. Bye.